Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Monday night with SimRace South Africa. I am Ryan Hill, and I'm going to be taking you through tonight's events. We've got simTC, that is our RDTT Sport Cup series, back tonight. So I'm going to be guiding you through what we have in store. How's it to everyone in the YouTube chat? Very nice to have you with me once again. I see Jackie Jokers there, of course, saying, "Here we go, Poland." That is indeed correct. We are at Poznan, which is one of the largest racing circuits in Poland itself. We'll get going, and we'll have a lap guide on that a little bit later as well, just to get you through. How's it, Fridge, in the chat as well? Who will get pole in Poland? That's a good one. Currently, it looks like Peter Geldenes with about 12 minutes 48 seconds remaining of that qualifying session that we're already well into. Charles Wilkin, glad to see he got in after a little bit of troubles earlier, but he is firmly in on track and is currently in P2. So doing very well for himself there. And Victor Fulter currently rounding up the top 3 so far, but still a lot of time left in the session. So don't discount everyone else. There's still lots of time to get out on track. Maybe a lot of drivers haven't had a chance at a good flying lap yet. Jackie asking, where's Philip Minnaar? Let's see if I can see him on my timing board. I don't see him yet, so we'll have to see in a sec if he's joining tonight or not. One thing that we can immediately do to double check is have a look at the HLQ times, the hot lap qualifying during the week. We can have a quick look and just to see if he qualified for starters in Division 1 tonight that we're covering. And just skimming my eyes down the leaderboard, I actually don't see Philip at all, so perhaps he's taking this as a drop round, perhaps? Or even, actually, just to come to think of it, does Philip still race with simTC series? That is something I can check on my sheets very quickly. Philip Minnaar is indeed part of Grumpy Monkey Yellow in the simTC series. But it doesn't look like he's on the HLQ sheets here, unless I'm blind. But nope, not seeing him. So I think he's skipping this round, Philip Minnaar. As you can see there, however, then Sean Bingham taking the top spot honours during the week with a 1:35.38, followed very closely by Nick and then Victor. So let's see how they get on tonight during qualifying. We can see a lot of the towers shuffling around already. So a lot of guys going to be bouncing around. We'll see Hardest Boyce has now put himself up into 3rd for Point Blank Racing livery car there. James Leach Senior also doing very nicely for himself with the Team Leach Racing in 4th. Always loved the Leach Racing liveries, sort of the beer themes from their sponsors. How's Rob in the chat? How's it going? Yeah, the OC Brewery cars sponsoring the Leach team. Very nice beers, can highly recommend. Jackie's putting his money on Sean Bingham for the win tonight. Let's see. Anyone else want to place some bets? Nick Hodson has just gone pole. A little more shuffling around the tower there as well. We've got 9 minutes left. Let's just have a little bit of an intro into side by side down the main straight there with Nick Hodson. Have a quick look at the weather forecasts for today. Conditions are a lot colder than what they were during HLQ. The ambient temperature about 10 degrees, roads only a little bit higher than that. You can see it's very heavy clouds at the moment, completely overcast. So the track not able to warm up really at all, despite us racing at sort of the peak temperature of the day, essentially, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. A very strong wind, 36 kilometers an hour west-southwesterly. So we'll have to see if that plays into any of the handling of the cars. Yeah, that is essentially it. So, as Jackie and Fridge have already pointed out, we're in Poland. So let's have a look at this track, the Tor Poznan track. There's the track overlay in a little bit of a larger scale on your screen right now with all the different corner names. They do have actual names as opposed to just the corner names, but they're all in Polish, so I'm going to be botching a lot of the corner names. So I'll probably just stick to the numbering system for the time being. A little bit about the Tor Poznan circuit. So it's the largest circuit in Poland. I'd say it's reasonably fast with a good runoff in most areas. Not too much elevation change. It was resurfaced in about 2006 and brought up to the FIA Grade 3 standard. So it's got its international certification. It was originally built somewhere in the late 1970s, 75, 77, somewhere there, at the one edge of one of their airports, or one of their oldest airfields. The track itself is about 4 kilometers dead, about 2.5 miles. It's got a couple of twisty sections, as you can see, but yeah, generally has good flow. Received a lot of positive feedback from the drivers. Yeah, you can see also on the track map there's a little bit of a grey squiggle in the bottom right hand side. That's a little kart circuit in the southeast portion of the track there. Incorporates part of the main circuit, which is pretty cool as well, but it does obviously mean that the two tracks can't run simultaneously. A couple of famous drivers in real life have also lapped the circuit. Robert Kubica, obviously, and then from other nationalities, Michael Schumacher, Jackie Stewart. I think the outright lap record is about 1:14 in a Ferrari F1. And I think in terms of road-going cars, there was a Lola Tino 250 set it around a 1:25. As you can see, the Audi TT Cup cars are getting around there today with about a 1:35 time. Nick still on top. We've got Renier Leach popped up into second now. Sean Bingham, who's always going to be up there, currently in third. So we'll have to see if he can improve at all in the last 6 minutes of this. While we do that, we'll have a look at the championship standing. And this is round 4 essentially, so you can see that most drivers have completed 3 races. Sean Bingham at the top. Sas van der Veste isn't doing really well for himself in second, Mike Leroux third. One interesting thing to note is that you can see Philip Menard further down the field there in P12, as well as Charles, as well as Nick. Charles completed 3 races. Nick and Philip have only completed 2 races, so essentially utilizing a drop round already. Philip actually then, this means he's going to be missing his second race, and therefore is really going to be disadvantaging himself for the overall championship series. So unfortunate there, but it is what it is, and a lot of other drivers in for the running there to play for. I don't have an official lap guide completed in the Audi TT Cup, but what I do have is another lap guide in another car. So have a look at this. There you have it, a lap of Tor Poznan, and Fridge, the keen-eyed viewer, is calling it out correctly. It is the Radical, it is the Radical SR3 RSX. So yeah, good spot there. But that'll give you a good idea of what it's like. Nice onboard footage around the track. And we've got a couple of other predictions for the race win tonight. So who was it saying? We've got Fridge calling Nick Hodgson for the win, Jean-Louis Dupinard saying Charles Wilkin, and looks like yeah, Fridge also shouting for Mike LaRue. So yeah, currently between Nick Hodgson at the top here with a 135.575, just behind. Look at that, there's a 0.016 difference to Charles Wilkin currently in P2, and Sean Bingham 0.297 behind him in P3 currently, looking to improve with just 2 minutes remaining. So drivers are going to be coming up to their last ditch attempt to try and put it on pole, improve their position at least. Just having a quick look down the field as we go. So Hard is currently in 4th, Gregory Hofart currently sitting in 5th, Mike LaRue for BWR in 6th, Sas van der Westhuizen for Grumpy Monkey in 7th, Sharon Rajpaul currently in the pits in 9th position. I see someone's just been bumped up. Was that Renia Leach? Sass has also just improved. Victor Filter rounding up the top 10. We've got Christy Simon in the mix, Stephen Herbst in the pits, Richard Ram, James Leach Sr., Peter Goldenace, was setting a good top early time but has dropped down to 15th. Monk Guy in 16th. Dirk Brand currently out on track in 17th. Roxanne Bartle for Grumpy Monkey Academy in 18. Neil Pretorius in 19th. Yuri Cordia in 20th, and Clive Hofart in P21. I think there's James Leach also in the pitch, and that rounds up the field. I do think we have everyone on track, 22 drivers and 23, me being the camera car. On the leaderboard you're not seeing James Leach yet because he hasn't set a time, so, and he's going to be out of time, so unfortunately he'll be starting from the back of the pack. He is quite a quick driver, so we should see a nice bit of action, I think, as he tries to have a recovery drive from the back of the field there. Not too many late movements here. We do have Charles Wilkin that's managed to pip Nick for the top position. Currently, always seems to manage to do that right at the death, grab pole position. Nick Hodgson now just behind, but it looks like he's not going to be able to have enough time to put in another lap. And Sean Bingham as well doesn't seem to be improving too much, so I think that's where they're going to end up. Your Hofart is down on his delta. Mike LaRue is, I think, on an out lap, so that's not really going to be improving. Stephen Herbst as well. James Leach Sr. rather is not going to improve as he goes over the line. Roxanne Bartle is 0.34 up. Was that invalidated, or was that, yeah, she's bailed out of that lap. Dirk Brand is 0.4 up on his best, which might gain him 1 position if he manages to hold on to it across the line as he comes around the final corner. Plus 4.7, yep, this should bump him up at least 1, or at least a few, sorry, apologies. That's up to 15th for Dirk, nicely done at the end there. And who else is out on track? Neil Pretorius about to come around the line, but he's a minute a second, 28 down, so he's not going to improve. So I think that is all she wrote for qualifying. Take a quick 30-second break and then we'll be back for the race start. Okay, we are back and in overtime, of course, just waiting for the qualifying session to officially end. Should hopefully tick over very soon. Occasionally, what we've seen in the past is if a driver is attempting to enter or leave the server at the last second, it gets a little bit stuck, but hopefully that isn't the case here today. We'll just give it a few seconds. Here we go, flicking over into race. See the grid forming, my camera car in the pits. We'll jump somewhere towards the front of the pack now. And let's see if I can get a zoomed out shot. There we go, of the start. So there's about 43 seconds remaining just for drivers to do any last minute adjustments, checking their pit stop strategies. Of course, we do have a mandatory pit stop in this race. Ooh, Richard Rahm is just disconnected from the server. That is an inopportune time to do so. And my game is telling me that my steering wheel is not centered. It's very true, but I'm not driving, I'm commentating. So it's not a problem. Here we go. Lights are coming on. We're going to have 6 lights coming on, and then as they're off, we'll be racing. Lights out, away they go. We see immediately a few drivers using their push to passes. You can see them in the tower, they're flicking orange and then to blue when they're on cooldown mode. So Nick really just trying to get ahead of Charles Wilkin, but is not managing to do so there immediately at this stage of the race. As they all go around the corner, I'm going to pop a little bit down the field and see what's happening. There's a few position changes, but only 1 or 2. So I don't think there's been any major accidents, just some minor position changes, which is good. Doesn't look like anyone's falling off track at this stage. Look at that. There's almost 2-3 abreast there as they're coming through essentially T3. Oh, there's a few cars off there in the background. It looks like Gregory Hofart is off. Not sure who else, but the rest of them get going. And essentially recovering. But yeah, as it was, I think Jackie mentioned in chat, T3 moving into T4, that's very tricky, and it's precisely where we saw some cars falling off there, just under that traffic. That was always going to go wrong. We've got a change for the lead, and Nick Hodgson on Charles Wilkin. Oh, look at that, they're still side by side. Currently going through T9, just at the bottom of there. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the Polish name. Look at that, almost like a little bit sideways. I'm hearing some gravel noises. You get a camera shot just behind the trees there. Something's happened because Nick's fallen all the way back down to 4th, and I'm seeing some damage, and he's turned around Leach. Rainier Leach, unfortunately, going spinning there. We'll see if he can recover on track. Nick, for the time being, seems to be going relatively slowly, so I think he might feel that was his fault and is attempting to yield for Rainier to catch up. It does look, indeed, he's pulled all the way off and waiting for Rainier to pass him, which is kudos there for the gentlemanly rule there, but that has cost Nick dearly, and Rainier, of course, as they've dropped a number of positions down, and has relieved a lot of pressure for Charles Wilkin out front now, who's scampering ahead with a full second lead to Sean Bingham. But we'll have to see how that goes. Apologies, Fridge. Just realized the car audio was not on in chat. Thanks for the calling that out. So much action. It's just a little bit too much to follow. But I hope you weren't too disappointed with that start. There's a lot of action, and we've just seen Roxanne Bottle as well make a move on Dirk Brand here for P17. Coming through, also sporting a little bit of damage. You can see that bonnet lifted currently. So yeah, a couple of cars having a little bit of contact in the early stages of this race. We'll have to see if they opt to repair that damage in the pits or not, because knowing it may cost them some additional time. We'll have to see how that goes throughout the rest of this race. So currently Mike Ruru doing very nicely for BW up in 3rd position right now. Just want to talk you through some of the components we have on track. As we see Hardest Boyser in that tower, his that little orange block you see just flicked to 13. That is the push to passes in effect. It's now just gone blue, which means it's in the cooldown phase. Orange is currently in use, so we can see Charles Wilkin up at the top end of the field using his down to 12th activations remaining. So I think he's feeling a little bit of pressure from Sean Bingham, perhaps, just trying to make sure he maintains that gap. Sean Bingham, of course, has all 15 push to passes left in the bag. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the top 10 cars start with 15 push to pass activations. And further down the field you start getting more and more, so you can see some guys have 17, 18 push to passes remaining, and that's quite nice. What it helps is, you know, to compensate for being so far back in the field, they give you a few extra push to passes. Just a recap on the weather, you can see it in the top left of your field. I'm just going to bounce down to the middle of the pack here where I see a couple of cars making some moves. So the current weather is shown for you in the top left, just as a reminder. The ambient temperature 10 degrees, track temperature only 11. As you can see from the skies, it's very grey and dark and completely overcast here. So that's track is quite cool, essentially. There's also a very strong wind, 35 kilometers per hour west-southwesterly. The track grip itself is now at 100% optimum though. It started at about, I think it was 99. It was actually started quite grippy today, so not too bad there. Going to just quickly bounce a little bit further up the field to Sharon Roche Paul. We've just seen him move as I move away. Victor Filter coming through side by side on Marker, and they're actually still side by side. Those positions are actively swapping, so let's just see how they do coming across the start finish line, heading down to T1. There's a couple of cars there side by side, all next to each other. Let's just see if they can all hold on. The Holson Bread car of Mark Guy just behind, putting some pressure on, just behind them, Neil Pretorius. And Rena Leach as well, just trying to make his comeback. You can see all those push to pass activations getting used and going into cooldown. Oh, there's a little bit of contact, and Mark Guy is sent around and is caught in the kitty litter. He's going to have a little bit of a hard time getting that back on track. Thankfully, he actually is able to. He's going to rejoin parallel and safely behind James Leach Sr. So unfortunately, getting knocked off track there. I didn't quite see who was at fault, but this is a good opportunity to chat about the stewards requests. So unfortunately we don't have live stewards in this race, but we do have, as we just see Stefan Herbst getting past Christy Simon there. That looking like a nice clean pass. Coming around the final corner, sorry, not the final corner, that was T89 complex at the bottom side of the track. We do have an offline review system essentially. Oh, there's two cars sent flying. I think it was Neil Pretorius. I'm not sure who else got caught up in that conflict, but there's someone still stuck at the back there, unfortunately. I think it might be Yuri Cordia. Unfortunately, they're coming across the kitty litter. So yeah, the offline review system, we have a panel of stewards that are able to review incidents after the race. Oh, this was, I think that was Roxanne getting it a little bit wrong there and piling through the gravel back onto the surface of the road. But the offline review process, essentially drivers can submit little replay clips of any incidents in question, and the stewards will review that, and if deemed necessary, issue some post-race penalties in the form of time penalties that are added to the timesheets, which are obviously then taken into consideration before the issuing of points. So it can affect things in the overall championship, of course. Back on the action now. I'm just going to bump up to Hardest Boyser. So we see is in 4th position currently. We see Nick Hodson, sorry, just making a move on Victor Filter as he's doing his recovery drive. Just trying to get my camera app to snap onto them. There's a lot of mid-pack action happening here. take this camera as a better angle there. You know what, I thought that was the pit straight. As you can see there in the markings on the road, that is essentially the start-finish line for the go-kart track, which is why it looked quite confusing as opposed to the main full circuits start-finish lines, because you see all the pit boxes there and the checkered line across the track. So a couple of cars just running it out wide nicely through T13 onto that main back straight here. Along back straight you see the cars tucking into a single column just to try and get a bit of a draft. Nick pulling out of that draft though and having a little look down the back straight here up the inside of Christy Simon. Will he be able to make a stick into T1? We'll have to see who's the last of the late breakers, and I can see the car dip of Christy behind, and Nick goes through for a clean pass there up to P8 as he continues his recovery drive. Where I think a couple of push to passes were in use there. Nick is down to 11 now, which is certainly one of the fewest activations remaining as he tries to make his way back up. See, we've got Victor Filter just behind, so there's a very closely packed here, around about P10, halfway down the field. Mid-pack battle is always very good in Division 1. See a lot of close cars. I see Dirk Brand, unfortunately, is off track here. Didn't quite see what happened. We just saw it on the tower when he was outlined in red, indicating that he was off track. So possibly a little bit of contact, otherwise possibly just spun it out. He's on his merry way again. Going to pop to Renier Leach, who is right behind Victor Filter. I'm actually going to go on board with Victor Filter and see if we can look behind just how close Mr. Leach is getting under braking. Yeah, we're coming across the main start-finish line here, heading into T1, but he's too far back, I'd say, to make any sort of move right now, so he's not under any considerable pressure. Oh, spitting out the inside here, let's have a look. Oh, someone's gone off track there. I think it is Christy Simon, who is spinning around. So it's unfortunate for the Grumpy Monkey Academy driver. A little bit of a careful does it on the rejoin, just tucking the nose in to make sure it's not encroaching upon the racing line. We see another car in the background there. Victor Filter, unfortunately, as well, just being turned around. So unfortunately, a couple of cars falling off here tonight in the early stages. Still a long way of this race to go, 49 minutes. The pit window is now essentially open for the next 40-odd minutes. Most drivers will need to come in and change their tires or put in at least 1 liter of fuel, or both. And no doubt, I think some of these incidents that we're seeing, a couple of drivers are also going to be repairing some damage. So let's see. If they're sporting a lot of damage, they may opt to come in early, repair that damage, and maybe do a bit of an undercut on everyone else, see how it goes. As we see Charles Wilkin just bang in the fastest lap of the race, I think 135.9. Still not having any drama out front. There is dipping into another push to pass though, so it's gobbling up quite a few of them in the early stages of this race. But that gap to second is now a healthy 3.1 seconds. So maybe he's just trying to push quite hard, and then we might see him come in for an early pit stop perhaps. I'm not sure, but we'll see certainly soon. A couple other drivers putting in their best laps of the race so far. James Leach Sr. Down 13th. One of them is tucked behind Neil Pretorius at this stage, looking like he's getting nice and close. Let's see if we can go on board with him. So a couple of different lines by these drivers. As they're coming through T4 now, through the little pink T5 to the right. Through T6. towards the start-finish line of the go-kart track, which is at the bottom of T8, T9. They're going through now. T10 is this little kink to the left. Don't run it too wide. We've got a little T11 and 12. This little tricky corner here. We want to maintain as much speed as possible onto this back straight now. They really stretch the legs. You can see the top speed in the bottom right hand corner reaching 190 just before braking around T14, and then essentially back onto the main straight, where they'll also just reach about 200 k's an hour before they have to slam on anchors. Actually a bit higher than that, 213, 214 before James Leach slams on anchors. The brakes glowing hot there, and that is essentially a bit of a lap. We'll pop up to Sas van der Westhuizen. Currently is tucked in, not 4 seconds behind Hardest Boyser. Sas racing for Grumpy Monkey Sim Racing, just behind Hardest in the Point Blank Sim Racing livery car. We see James Leach Senior, who have just passed, get past Neil Pretorius, but that's because Neil's fallen off track, unfortunately. Nick Hodson, meanwhile, it's a little bit of a move on Stefan Herbst up in 7th. Go-kart's finished there. He's got 10 push-to-pass activations remaining, 1 on cooldown now. So he's trying and pushing really hard to get back up to the front. News just on: the state of disaster is to be lifted at midnight tonight, so that's good news for Cyclones. Saran Rush pulled just ahead of them using a push-to-pass activation. Dirk Brown getting past Mark Guy, who's actually falling down the track there, so I'm not sure what happened if he made a little mistake. Lost what looked like 2 positions out there. Popping back up to Sass, who's the closest battle on track right now, 0.3 seconds behind Hardest Boyser. Just going to go on board with him and have a little look and enjoy the sounds. Sass using his push to pass here. Is he going to have a little look? Up into T6, he's trying to take the inside line. Oh, he's carrying a lot of speed, so he's going to lose out that position. Hardest Boyser says thank you very much and takes that position back. So yeah, not easy to make it stick around here, even with the push to pass. Neil Pretorius is tucked into the pits now, so I think he's just coming out the pits now. Took an early pit stop. He's most likely going long. Oof, there's the car blitzing past him there. I think that was Peter Geldenes. Yep. The green and white Audi Sport livery. So Charles Wilkins just started the 11th lap of the race. Still hovering around a 3-second gap to Sean Bingham in 2nd position. Michael Larue still hanging on to 3rd. No real dramas for the top 3 here tonight. Hardest Boyser has currently got Sass all over the back of him. Sass is going to make another move. Let's keep an eye on that tower and see if he decides to use a push to pass. If that green light goes to orange, we'll know he's attempting a move. Which corner is he going to try and make his move on? As they get tantalizingly close. Look at how close they are. They're almost touching. Hardest is now using a push to pass, obviously feeling threatened by Sass behind and trying to just keep ahead. And now it goes into cooldown. Will Sass make his move? They're about to hit the T8, which is the start-finish line of the go-kart track. As you see the white pit box lanes and lines coming up, there they are. Does Sass tempted to use it? No, not yet. He's still holding it in reserve. So maybe just biding his time, waiting to see if he can get a little bit closer again. Maybe we'll see him move down the final corner here if he's close enough. I don't think he's close enough, no, to get a nice draft down the back straight. Let's see how late he breaks into the final corner. He's keeping the throttle going. I don't think he's close enough to make any sort of move at this stage. To T1, that is. We'll pop down to Nick Hudson, currently in 7th. He's making some good ground on Shiran Rajpal. That gap has come down now to 0.7. So I think it's just a matter of short time before we see him threatening Shiran Rajpal here. Shiran's Dub Corp livery there, looking quite epic on camera as always. See if I can get a little bit of a closer side shot. There we go. Still meanwhile 0.3 seconds behind the hardest boy, so just keeping the pressure on. No push to pass activations used yet again since. I'll keep an eye on that tower and flick to it if I need to from anywhere else. A little bit further down the track, Victor Filter now 0.4 seconds behind Mark Guy, still putting on the pressure. P15. I've got Neil Pictorius using a push to pass activation. Just as he comes across the start-finish line, no one really around him, so I think that's just trying to make up for some lost time and catch up to the rest of the pack. Simon for Grumpy Monkey Academy. It's just behind Dirk Brand's orange and grey and white Audi Sport livery car there. I see Nick Hudson has just used a push to pass activation. So here we go down the main straight. He's put the move on Shiran Rajpal. He's got the inside line going into T1. He's currently got his nose ahead and he tucks in front even before the corner is done. So that is the power of push to pass down the main straight, and we can see him hugging that inside line. They're going very nicely defensive, and Shiran not able to make a comeback at this current stage. But as we can see that Nick now only has 9 push to pass activations. He's one of the first cars I think to dip into the single digits of push to pass, so he's certainly burning through them just to try and make his way back up to the end of the top end of the field. So we'll have to see how that plays into the later stages of this race, when a couple of the other drivers on track are going to have basically an advantage. Just clipping the curve there, and we see the sparks fly. Someone in the background is going off there. It's a green and white livery car, which is not Leach's. Is it Gregory Hofart? No. Apologies while I try and find who the green and white Audi is. Is it Stefan Herbst? I think it's Stefan Herbst. We see a lot of other cars just trying to take evasive action there. And it is indeed Stefan Herbst. As he makes his way back on track and losing out on quite a few positions there, unfortunately. Sas van der Westhuizen, meanwhile, has got his push to pass going, and looks like as he made it past Hardest Boyser. While that action was happening on track, back down to the middle of the pack, James Leach Sr. right behind each other, and we got side by side here with looks like one of the Grumpy Monkey Academy cars, but it does appear to be a back marker. As we see them just getting past some lapped traffic, essentially. That back marker of Christy Simon, actually not too much of a back marker, but the timing board is indicating that there might be a lap down here, but nevertheless, side by side here, some racing action. Stefan Herbst, meanwhile, putting a move on Christy Simon there. Just utilizing the push to pass to do so. Very nice move there, and tucks it in front, just behind them there as well. We see a couple of getting a little bit sideways, and there's some contact there between Victor Filter, excuse me, as Mark Guy goes past, and That's an unfortunate little bit of contact. Richard Ram, I see, is back in the server after that initial disconnect. He is a little bit down now, but still going on track. Clive Herford coming through. You can see the amount of damage he's carrying just from the bonnet lifted as well. Just going to have a look at the top end of the field here again. As we see Christy Simon make his way past Stephen Herbst, who is in the pits. That is why those position changes are happening. So yeah, a couple of guys coming into the pits. Mike LaRue still hanging out in third. Sas van der Westhuizen in fourth. Seems to be comfortably ahead of High Explosive for the time being. Both on 11 push to passes. I see Yuri Cordier and Stefan Herbst swapping positions. Yuri gaining P17 at the moment. Yep, Sas is indeed doing quite well. Currently holding on to P4 after confidently getting past Hardis in P5. Hardis meanwhile has done his PB of the lap, 136.1. 136.3, apologies. Just while there's a bit of calm on the track, I can talk to you about some of the logos you see on screen. We've got, starting with Abba in the bottom right corner, that is our charity select for the season, the Adoption and Childcare Agency. We've managed to raise this year almost 26.5 grand for, just at the end of last year 34 grand for them, making a combined total of about 60,500 rand for the Abba adoption specialists. So kudos to everyone who helped with that. In our bottom left corner you'll see some of our other sponsors rotating or partnerships hosted on simracing.gp. That is the cloud-based platform powered by Amazon Web Services that we're currently using. Grumpy Monkey, who sponsor our HLQ servers. You'll see a couple of their cars with their liveries on track as well. They're fielding two teams, the main team, for example, Sas and Nick liveries, for example, and then also the academy teams. Jutech, of course, sponsoring. They do some really nice hardware in terms of sim rigs. I've got one of their brand new products, their foot pedal boxes. Essentially, I can highly recommend them for anyone who's still racing at a desk. Yellow Design Co. So as a quick little sneak peek there, you can see if I can get a zoomed in shot. It doesn't look like it's really going to happen. But the Yellow Design Co., they do liveries, among other things, graphic design, the Yellow Design Company. And I may have forgotten one or two. We'll wait for the logos to rotate as we do so. Jackie, not sure what leaderboard are you looking for? Are you looking for the overall championship standing? Let's have a look at Sean Bingham, currently in P2. He is catching to Charles Wilkin. That gap was 3 and something seconds. It's down to 2.1. So he's making some ground. I'll have a look at the championship standing leaderboard if that's the one you're interested in, Jackie. So here we go. This is at the end of the previous round. So we can see most drivers having completed 3 races total. A few of them further down that board there, as you can see, this is obviously just the top 15 that I can fit on screen right now. Like Nick and so on, Peter Geldnes, Philip Minor, all having completed 2 out of the 3 races so far. But certainly at the top end of the field, you can see Sean Bingham taking top honours so far. Sas van der Westhuizen very close behind, just a few points in it. Mike LaRue for BWR doing very nicely for himself in P3. Back to the action. Nick Hodson has just done a PB of the race for himself. That is 135.9 as he continues to look to pile the pressure on, and he is catching up to Hardest Boyser. Now I wonder if we're going to see some team coordination here, because essentially Hardest is now sandwiched between two Grumpy Monkey cars. Will Sass back up Hardest a little bit into Nick? That could be a very interesting strategic move, or they're all just going to be racing independently, because Sass will essentially be losing time to Mike LaRue then if he does so. But it's whether that is a lost cause or not, you know, with that 7-8 second gap or not. So that's interesting. Christy Simon, we just see peeling out of the pits right now. So he's losing out on a position, but is getting his pit stop done. And we'll quickly go back up to Nick Hodson, who's 0.3 seconds behind Hardest Boy. So there's a huge gap made up here. And nothing to do with push to passes, because Nick's still on 9. Remember, I said he'd just gone into the single digits a few laps ago. So I think we might be seeing, if he believes he's close enough. Oh, he's getting super close here as he's rounding the final corner of T12, sorry, into the back straight. We see him having a little look, but just keeping it tucked in the draft. He's having another little look. And I wonder if he's going to try and put the hammer down the straight now with a little bit of push to pass. Let's see if he can take it up into T1. Let's see what happens. He is pulling out of the draft. Out of that slipstream. He's trying to go side by side. And I think if he manages to hang on the inside there, he's going to have that move done. Will Hardest be able to come back at him? Let's go on board with Hardest now. He's tucked in behind Nick, and I think, yeah, he's safely tucked in. So that move is done and banked by Nick. With no help required from Sass up ahead, so good racing, guys. I'm going to attempt now to see if I can rotate the tower just to see, here we go, the overall progress since the start of the race. So right at the top, obviously, Charles Wilkin, a net 0 position change, so he qualified on pole and is still enjoying the P1 spot on the grid. Sean Bingham doing very nicely up from P3, currently sitting in P2. Mike LaRue doing exceptionally well, great start, up 5 positions to currently be in P3. So he's hanging onto a nice podium finish there. Sass van der Veste is also doing very nicely for himself, up 2 spots. Nick Hodson, we saw the early race happened with that collision on, I believe it was Rainier Leach, and lost out 3 positions so far, but he's essentially made his way back up track. Hardest Boyser just dropping 1 positions, not bad, not the end of the world, he can still improve. Shren Rushball doing nicely up 2. And I think just skimming down the rest of the pack, we can see James Leach there. Remember, he started effectively last, and he's already up into P10 now with just under half an hour of the race to go. So he's doing very nicely for a little bit of a comeback drive. Just in terms of those overall pit stops, from what you can see here, so essentially no one in the top 13 or so has stopped yet. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that as they come through. But otherwise they'll flick it back onto the gaps. We'll have a look at where the closest gaps are. Intervals, sorry, is what the real time that I want, so we can see the closest battles on track. Which looks like Sass at the moment, 0.5. I do see Dirk Brand a little bit further down the field as 0.7 seconds tucked in behind James Leach Sr. there. You can see the OC Brewery liveried yellow beer car, yellow and white, followed by Dirk's orange and white Audi Sport Racing number 42. See the cars dipping under braking, quite pronounced. There's a little bit of the go-kart track there in the background. You'll see the start finish of that position there. Section of track in the southeast corner. So this gap maintaining pretty steadily. I'm going to have a look at Rainier Leach right now, who's activated a push to pass. Just coming across the main straight finish there. No one really around him, so I think he's just trying to make sure he doesn't lose too much ground to Shane Rush Paul ahead of him. Will defend from Gregory Hofart, who seems to be doing quite nicely in P9 here, making up some good time as well. Got a little bit of damage on that car. We can see the left-hand side windows pretty smashed up. Right-hand side windows looking intact for now. Christy Simon putting in his PB of the race, the 136.6. Mark Guy's in the pits, that's why you're seeing him switch positions right now with Victor Filter, who goes through. Pit lane is only open for another 15 minutes and a bit, so it's a little bit of time for cars to come in. As we just missed it on off camera, apologies, Dirk Brand has made his way past James Leach Sr. And Stephen Herbst has just made his way past Mark Guy as well, but I think that was possibly coming out of the pits. Sas van der Westhuizen has activated his push to pass. Let's see what's happening here down the start-finish line. We've got some traffic here as well. That is for position up to Mike Leroux in the BWR car, but that red and white livery car is a back marker, which will need to try and get out of the way, and he does so right at this point to let the leaders come through, because that is position 2, 3, and 4 over there, all coming through and trying to make their way past, I think it's Neil Pretorius there in P20. So he didn't impede the leaders by the looks of it, looked okay, but a lot of action going down here. I think the situation of that back marker has brought the pack a little bit close together. So you can see Sass and Nick for the two Grumpy Monkeys hunting down the BWR car of Mike Leroux here. So it certainly put him under a lot of pressure. Mike Leroux still enjoying 13 push-to-pass activations, which is an advantage over the Grumpy Monkey cars behind him. Sass having 10, Nick having 9. See Victor Filter just pile into the pits, so we'll see some position changes down the field there. Stefan Herbst and Mark Guy are, I was going to say, somewhat battling each other. They're both using push-to-pass activations down that main straight there. Just going to keep an eye on the top end of the field here. Sean Bingham has used a push-to-pass now as well, so it's pushing. And we see the two Grumpy Monkey cars going side by side down into T1. And oh, Sass has gone extremely wide and off track. I think just a little bit of a pressure there. He's actually going to hit the wall and spin around too. That has gone horribly wrong for Sass. As he tries to recover, he's going to lose out a couple of positions, not only to Nick through that corner, but Hardest Boyce has made his way past us now as well. And let's see if we can see any damage on that car. He's coming under pressure from Saran Raj Paul now too. We can see the bonnet is lifted, so there's definitely some damage there. Not sure if it's mostly just aerodynamic cosmetic. Hopefully not the suspension damage, as he does ride over those curbs quite aggressively. So it's definitely under a lot of pressure from Saran Raj Paul here, who has just used a push-to-pass activation as well. And we see here getting all up on the rear trumpet of Sass van der Westhuizen. Hanging it out really wide through T9 there. Sparks, Sass runs wide, trying to establish if Sass has any sort of suspension damage on that car, if he's struggling or not. So it looks like he's possibly okay for the time being. As they enter the start-finish straight. So meanwhile, Nick, who got the better of that earlier battle, currently up in P4 now, hunting down a podium. Mike Leroux is the next target. So those early race predictions were all between Charles Wilkin, Sean Bingham, Mike LaRue and Nick Hodson for the win. At this stage, I think they're only... Well, P1, Charles has got a nice comfortable gap back up to 3 seconds again. But it's anyone's guess right now for the rest of the podium. But I don't want to jinx it either. There's still a good 22 odd minutes left of this race, and anything can happen during the pit stop phase. None of these drivers up at the top end of the field have had their pit stops yet. Oh, a couple of cars running a little bit wide. There's Mike LaRue coming under all sorts of pressure from Nick Hodson. Let's see if we can get a rear view camera here. We've got Sean Bingham just in front of used push pass activation as well. But Mike LaRue looking to keep it nice and tidy and defensive. Coming down the main straight here, as we can see a little bit of, I don't want to quite say weaving, but having a little look is Nick. Just possibly trying to play some mind games with Mike LaRue. And there we go, Mike LaRue using another push to pass just to try and keep ahead of Nick Hodson there. Further down the field, oh actually I'm not going to switch away, this looks quite close. A little bit of a lag incident there, hopefully not too prolonged. But yeah, Mike LaRue, Nick Hodson, and that car just behind Nick is a back marker. So that is not currently in contention. Nick's still piling on the pressure. He's trying to go up the inside. That looked awfully close to coming into contact. I think he managed to keep it nice and clean and backed out of it essentially. Nick Hodson was using push to pass there. It's now on cooldown, so I think he was trying to take a chance. Going side by side here through the T12, T13 complex, almost rubbing on each other as they come around the corner to the back straight. And whose nose is in front? Nick's nose is in front, and Mike LaRue is forced to tuck it in behind. So there was some good racing, a little bit of rubbing as racing going on there, but I think from the offset it looked okay. Push to passes are in strong effect here. Hardest is actually, no, not hardest, Mike's going to have a little look, but Nick's clamping in that inside lane just to defend. And Renier Leach, it's Ren Rushbull diving into the pits there as we see P8 slipping down. So Nick coming up behind some backmarker traffic here now. It looks like a Grumpy Monkey Academy car. We'll have to see if that impedes him or not and puts Mike back into contention for another pass. Not quite sure who the back... Oh, it gets well out of the way there. I was going to say I was going to go and find out who that is. But now hopefully the Grumpy Monkey car doesn't hold up the BWR car either there. It just did look like it got well out of the way. As not to impact that battle fairly. Quickly have a look at Mark Guy, who is 0.4 seconds behind Roxanne Bartle, down in P17, fight for P16. Philip, good to have you in the chat, man. Missing you from this race. I'm taking another drop round, it seems, for Grumpy Monkey Yellow. Mark Guy currently got the push to pass activated as they come down into T1. It's not close enough to Roxanne Bartle to make a move. We see the brakes glowing very hot there. We see first the front runners is pitting. Mike LaRue has pitted and he's coming out of the pits now. Which will put Sas van der Westingen just ahead of him. So it doesn't look like he's lost too many places there, Mike LaRue. I think that's pretty good. But just commenting, Philip, so fast you've already finished this race. Christy Simon currently using a push to pass in P12. Doesn't look like he's under pressure from anything, so I think he's just trying to make sure he keeps using them, staying in contention. Let's see. The next closest battle on track is this one for P16 of Mark Guy and Roxanne Bartle. Coming down the start finish line, I'm not convinced he's close. Actually, he is. He's having a look. He's going up the inside. Mark Guy, and I think he's going to make that move stick into T1 past Roxanne Bartle. So, good clean move there. Bringing it around the inside. And Mike Leroux is just past Sas van der Westhuizen, who is in the pits. So he's taking his pit stop. Looked like a very close, fast stop, that is. I wonder if he even opted to repair the damage. Nope, he has not repaired the damage. So obviously thinking that it's not affecting this race too badly, and opting for a very quick stop there, probably just a splash and dash. I doubt he even changed the tires, that stop was so quick. Slipping down the field, I see Gregory Hofart is unfortunately DNF'd. So I'm not sure what happened there, because he was almost up into the top 10. So sorry to see that happen, Gregory. Better luck next time. Has promoted Dirk Brand up into P12. Let's remind ourselves right now on the number of pit stops that various drivers have taken, so we can see there from the tower the top 4 positions have yet to stop. Mike Leroux being the first of the front runners to stop, and currently in P5. So we'll have to keep an eye on whether he's able to leapfrog any of the drivers when the top 4 decide to pit. Sean Bingham currently using his push to pass. Just trying to make sure he stays with some good pace and doesn't get essentially undercut by Mike Leroux here. Anyone else? Mike Leroux is pushing really hard. Another push to pass activation just got used. Renier Leach is now in the pits. So exits there in P8. Victor Fulter just getting a little bit wrong, and it's almost going to say he's going to take a little lap around the go-kart track there. He manages to get it back onto the main circuit. Got Shireen Roche Paul here now at the moment. Currently hanging out in P7, also doing very nicely for himself with a solid, say, top 10 finish, but this is yeah, P7 is right up there for the time being, doing really nicely for himself. Renier Leach just behind him has activated a push to pass, but still a good few meters down the track. Nick Hudson has just overtaken the lead. Charles Wilkin, apologies for missing that. Yeah, apologies, I missed that battle for the lead, just trying to deal with the spam there. Sorry about that. Spam is hidden and blocked as we continue the race. Sas van der Westhuizen has just made a move up on Hardest Boyser. So a couple of position changes there. But I still think that these guys need to do their pit stops. Just go to the pit stops plans. Actually, that's why the position change happened. Apologies. Charles had taken his pit stop, as did Sean, as did Sass. They all piled into the pit. Sass we obviously saw take a quick pit stop. So Nick Hudson has the current leader of the race, but as you can see from the leaderboard, there has 0 stops. So we'll have to see. He's only got a 2.8 second advantage to Charles Wilkin in P2, so he's definitely not a net P1 at this stage of the race. Charles Wilkin then using another push to pass as we see down the main straight. I think that is back market traffic there, that Grumpy Monkey Academy car. Will he stay out of the way? Yep, as he takes the inside line. Nick Hudson's diving to the pits. And diving out of the pits. That would have been a splash and dash as well. Grumpy Monkey strategy it seems to be tonight. And he's peeled out in P3. So, this is where you're seeing... let's get that pit stop shown on screen again. The top 8 all having stopped. P9 James Leach has not yet stopped. Otherwise, everyone else in the tyre field has done their pit stops. So I think this is now where you can see cars are going to be finishing and how much ground they need to make up in the last 10.5 minutes of this race to actually cement their position or improve their position. So as it stands, Charles Wilkin still enjoying the healthy lead now of 7 seconds to Sean Bingham, up from the 3 seconds it was just before the main stops. So he's done really well to hang on to that and extend the advantage. Nick Hudson in P3, currently 2.2 seconds behind Sean Bingham with 7 push-to-pass activations. So let's see if he starts to attack now. Sean Bingham, there's only 10 minutes left in the race, so I think he's going to start using at least 1 push-to-pass every lap. Michael Louis still doing very nicely for himself in P4 for BWR, and Sas van der West is in quite a while down the track, almost 12 seconds behind, but a solid P5 so far. But it's almost been his nemesis tonight. There you can see in the background, Hardest Boyser for Point Black Sim Racing is on his tail and has 1 push-to-pass advantage over Sas. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Shren Raj Paul just further down the track as well. We can see these cars have been brought in nicely into contention. So using his push-to-pass, he's now only down to 5 as it goes into cooldown mode. Across the start-finish line at P7. And Renier Leach as well, using his push to pass across the start finish line there, just trying to hang on to the back of that train for P8. Also got a lot of activations in the tank. Someone get on the radio with Christy. You've got 10 push to passes remaining with 8.5 minutes or so, 9 minutes left on the race. Get using them, boy. And Roxanne Bartle as well, 17 push to passes left. I think that means she hasn't used a single one. Someone get on the ringer with Roxanne, Grumpy Monkey Academy team, and tell her to map that button. But yeah, nevertheless doing really nicely for herself in P16, not having used a single push to pass. As we can see the leaderboard flicking rainbow colors here of everyone activating their push to passes in the dying stages. James Leach Sr. now dipping into them. He's currently on cooldown, 13 left. Nick Hudson 1.5 seconds behind Sean Bingham. Let's just keep an eye on that number and see if it drops significantly. Obviously there's a bit of an accordion effect coming out of some corners. But you can see the top 4 all using push to fast now down that main straight. Blips into cooldown mode of the blue. It's not too much in it. 8, 7, 6 and 6 activations remaining between the top 4 respectively. Hardest Boyser 0.8 behind Sas van der Westhuizen, still keeping it close. And well, not a big advantage. 1 push to pass activation advantage between Sas. Still in the double digits there for Hardest Boyser. Hudson down now to a 1 second gap to Sean Bingham, so that time is coming down for the 1.3 or so it was earlier. Clock is also running down very quickly, 6.5 minutes remaining. 6 push to pass activations remaining. Sean Bingham's just used one. Coming down the main straight, there's a car peeling into the pits there. Roxanne Bartle doing essentially another stop, I think, because she'd already stopped. It's maybe just a fuel miscalculation or repairing some damage. Go on board with Nick as we see him trying to make up some ground to Sean Bingham. The gap is now 0.8. It's creeping down ever so slightly. Which says maybe she stopped to map a push to pass button. Yes. Maybe she got the radio message. Right, Nick 0.83 behind Sean Bingham. Let's see if he can make some time up. There's 5 minutes left of this race. Clipping those curves and running very wide. I think he's pushing a little bit too hard there. Fortunately, he doesn't lose too much time, but yeah, that gap now bumped up to a second now. Sparks flying from Sean Bingham ahead. Push to passes on both cars in use, both 5 apiece. Sean Bingham, remember, topped the HLQ leaderboard throughout the week, so we know he's quick. Nick was just behind him, so technically a slower lap time. I do think Nick out-qualified him this evening. I can have a quick look at the positions. Sorry, I missed it there. It's called progress. Nick's dropped 1, Sean's gone up 1. So yeah, Nick technically out-qualified Sean Bingham tonight. See the overall gaps on the leaderboard, how they are lining up. But you can see now this gap tantalizingly closer and closer. Nick's getting to Sean Bingham. Push to passes are green and ready and waiting. I think we'll see them get used yet again down the main straight. Surrounding this final corner, we'll see how close Nick can get. It's down to a 0.4, 0.3 gap here, all a little bit running wide, but Sean Bingham just perhaps running defensive. There's a back market traffic there. I think that's the Holston Bread car of Mark Guy, just staying well out of the way there. And push to passes are not in use yet. Further down, I was just seeing Hardest Voices reporting as off track. But this battle here for T1, you can see them trying to break the toe. Sean Bingham not quite close enough yet. Both cars yet again using push to pass. I'm not sure what happened to Hardest Voices. We did see him fall down the track. Just ahead of him, Rainier Leach using a push to pass. He has got 1 left. So does Sharon Rajpal in P6. Backups and Nick is a 0.24 gap here. Is he going to make a move? Inching, literally inches away from the back bumper of Sean Bingham. He's actually gone alongside him here. We'll have to see if he can keep it around the outside. Oh, he's locked up under brakes, and I think that's going to allow Sean Bingham to come back up the inside. But he still manages to keep his nose ahead. They keep on going side by side now through... what I think that is T7 or 8. Yep, T8 just being the bottom corner there in the southeast, and Nick has managed to get it ahead of Sean Bingham despite that earlier lockup. So good clean moves, no contact there. Look pretty good, and Nick is back up into P2. on the track. Renier Leach now, I think, next closest battle on track, 0.5 behind Shred and Rush Paul. Both cars have one push-to-pass activation remaining, with a little over a minute and a half left in this race. It's coming down to the wire for these guys. Again, we just see the leaders using their push-to-passes, but no moves going on there. They're just all trying to maintain their gaps. I always think someone's gone off there when you hear that hitting the dirt, but I think they're just running slightly wide. Fridge voting his driver of the day in Nick Hodgson. I think I agree. He had a fantastic comeback drive after essentially having to yield after making that contact with Renier Leach early in the race, and has had a pretty good recovery drive all the way back up to P2. Apologies for that spam as well. We'll get rid of it in a sec. It's relentless, this one. But yeah, great drive there from Nick. Back up into P2. He's not going to be able to take the win away from Charles Wilkin though, so take nothing away from that man, who has led from pole position today all the way to the finish. About 20 seconds left in this race. He is coming down that back straight. The question is whether he's actually going to have to do another lap. I think he might need to, with rounding the final corner now and still 10 seconds left on the clock. I think he's going to be one more lap in it. Yep, as he crosses the line now with 4 seconds left. So another lap, or final lap rather, as Charles starts the last lap of the race. Peter Geldenes further down has just made a move on Victor Fulter, as does Renier Leach on Hardest Boyser. No, sorry, apologies, Sharan Raj Paul there. You can see the striped barcode car is actually still going side by side here. Renier's going to try and muscle it up the inside. He's still hanging it out side by side. Across the finish line, Sharan is pipped it. But they still have one more lap to go. What's going to happen is T1 here. We've got Renier Leach trying to go up the inside. Very distant camera. It looks like he's slipping in behind. Yep. And both of these drivers have no more push-to-pass activations remaining, so they're just going to have to rely on whatever they can do with their car positions on track. Oh, I think there's a little bit of a sideways move there. I don't think there was contact, or maybe there was, because it does look like Renier is waiting for Sharan, so maybe there was indeed contact, and he has waited for Sharan to recover in front of him, so kudos for that. Congrats, guys. Really good to see the gentleman's racing agreement in effect. And yeah, these guys certainly really enjoying their battles on track today together. Big lockup for Sharan Rush Paul there. And that's going to allow Renier to maybe get a little bit of an advantage here coming through the go-kart section of the track in the southeast corner. But Sharan just closing the door there on the inside line. And Charles Wilkin has come home to take P1 very comfortably, so kudos to Charles for that. We're just going to keep an eye on Sharan Rush Paul while we see Nick Hodgson as well finish up in P2, and Sean Bingham rounds up the podium in P3. But the race is not yet done for these two here, Renier Leach and Sharan Rush Paul. And there we go, they're going to finish in that position. So Mike Leroux takes 4th, Sas van der Wees stays in 5th, Sharan Raj Paul 6th, Renier Leach 7th, Hardest Boyser 8, Christy Simon P9, and James Leach rounding out your top 10 as he goes into the barriers here. Is he? Actually, he's not finished. Something's gone really wrong here for James Leach. And how close is Dirk Brand behind? He's a little bit behind there. You can see him there, but I don't think he's close enough to upset James Leach, taking P10 now officially across the line. Dirk Brand rounding out P11, James Leach Senior P12, pass around the final corner. There's 2 activations remaining. Stefan Herbst about to come around the final corner, P13, and the rest of the field finishing as you can see there on screen. Right, so I'm going to see if I have a couple of drivers to pull in for an interview. Hopefully Charles, Nick, or Sean Bingham. Let's see who I can find. Alrighty, I have found Nick.
Ryan's decided to mute himself. Yeah.
I'm indeed on mute. I found Nick Hudson and Sean Bingham. Hi guys.
Hello, Ryan.
How are you guys doing? Don't quite see sweaty. Don't quite see Charles yet. Charles obviously taking P1 position. Nick, a fantastic comeback drive for you up into P2 after that initial kerfuffle with the Renier Leach in the early stages of this race. But we did see obviously yields for him just to allow him to retake that position. So what was ultimately an extremely good comeback drive for you. So really well done for that. And Sean Bingham as well. Congrats for rounding out a podium. How was that race for you guys, Nick?
Yeah, it was. I hesitate to say good. Look, it was a fun drive back, but I made that mistake and just tapped Renier. I got it. I thought I could carry more speed through that corner, and I clearly couldn't. Tapped the back of him, and that was it. Kind of race over.
Yeah, sometimes that's just racing. But kudos for waiting for him. I don't think he would be feeling too bad, heartfelt. Once he saw you waiting as well. Honest mistakes. And yeah, Sean as well. How did your race go? It seemed like a pretty comfortable P3. Everything go according to plan?
Yeah, I think I just kept it steady. Maybe didn't take any risks. But yeah, just didn't really have the pace to keep up with Charles, and decided maybe it's best to just keep it on the track. Yeah, and then just obviously a great job back by Nick at the end, then getting me at the end. Yeah, didn't really have much confidence in the car at the end. I'm not sure what the story was, but
yeah. It was good sort of seeing you guys counting down the push to passes between you guys as well. And Charles, I see you've made it. Congrats again, leading from pole to finish tonight. Looked like everything went according to plan for you, certainly.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, the first few laps was a bit hectic. Well, the first lap.
Yeah, there was.
I don't know if I touched Nick. I don't think so.
I don't think you did. No.
Yeah, I left you a bit of space, a little bit. So and then from then on it was
smooth sailing. Yeah, kudos. It looked like you definitely had everything stitched up according to plan today, and avoided some of the contacts that some guys were struggling with. Certainly the first few laps we saw a lot of guys going 2-3 wide through some corners, and that never really works out. So yeah, good job on keeping your noses clean.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, anything else you guys want to chat? Otherwise we're going to begin the sign-off procedures. Otherwise,
no, just thanks for streaming, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah, always great to be able to watch these back, see the action, and yeah, good man. Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, thanks guys, and we'll catch you in the next TC round, which is on a track I don't think we've raced here at South Africa before. Barbagallo?
Yeah, not that I know of, certainly.
Yeah,
another Australian track, I think.
Yeah, so that's a new one to look out for, and hope to see everyone in the next one. And thanks everyone as well for tuning in on chat. Thanks guys. Have a good evening.
Cheers all.
Thanks, Ryan.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.